Hey all, welcome to Discount Bin, a pack of pals reading, digesting, and arguing over fantasy novels in a weekly podcast format. This week, we are finishing up The Promise of Blood, book one of the Powder Mage trilogy. Like always, we have the usual suspects. I'm Daniel. We have Lexi.
Hi.
And we have Rick.
Hello.
And we have Leonard.
Hello.
And Leonard is doing hosting duties this week, so I'll kick it off to you.
All right. We have 10 chapters to cover, including an epilogue. I'm going to condense some of the chapters, like instead of going one at a time. Like I'm probably going to do 31, 32 together, since 32 was like a tiny chapter. Okay, so let's start with chapter 31. Thomas, 5 days after his surgery, still requires rest. Olim takes him to the balcony for fresh air, where he sees a banquet sprawling through the election square. He finds out that Mihaly has set it up in order to unite Ajo via a feast. The merchants eating with the peasants, the nobility serving the street urchins. He gets the support of Ricard Tumblr's workers. Naila, feeling her hatred slipping because of her good treatment and Mihaly's free food, decides that she must kill Thomas. Olim interrupts her plan last minute, then revealing to Naila that Jacob is alive, as well as his knowledge of her as a royalist. After some talk about how the children of nobility were treated, Naila decides to break up with Olim. Chapter 32. Daniel's small group investigates the mine lower on the mountain, along with the help of Rina and her 3 hounds. They find that Julene and the other caste privileged have tunneled past them, working their way up the mountain. With their main goal of summoning Kreshmir, they bypassed the mountain watch completely. Daniel and Bo decided that it was urgent enough to lead a small group up the mountain to try to stop Julene. Were you guys surprised by Jacob's survival? The reveal at the end there?
Not at all.
No, I wasn't surprised at all. I'm surprised we found him again so fast.
Yeah.
I thought this was going to be a plot point for later, or like come back later, just not, oh, well, here's your payoff immediately.
For me, it was, I didn't think this author doesn't seem like the kind of person to have his main characters just murder children, you know?
I was a little disappointed
Whose finger
with
he
the
just got.
reveal, because I felt like
Adamant.
the author is just like trying to prop up Thomas at every opportunity he can. It felt like one of those things, oh, how convenient. He's actually not the bad guy everyone thinks he is. He's this angel or whatever, savior. And I think that's kind of how it hit me. It felt like one of those storybooks where like the main character is kind of flawless and the author is just piling it on. But my other question is, do you think Jacob has a bigger role to play since he's alive and he might have ties to the nobility?
Almost definitely.
I hope so.
I think he's going to be a focal point, I mean, if I don't know how long the series takes place in the future, it might be like, oh, he's here and like as a teenager or something. But if it doesn't, he's gonna definitely just be a bargaining chip, right? Like, if I kill him, here comes Kresimir gonna do his promise.
Well, here's the thing, right? If he has ties to noble blood, which means he is like a legitimate successor to the throne, does that mean Kresimir still has a reason to come back? You know?
Well, right. I think there's 2 different things. I think the Kresimir's promise and Kresimir coming back are 2 actual different storylines going on right now. Kresimir coming back, Julene's just bringing him back. Doesn't actually need to murder the lion to bring him back. Just needs a shit ton of mages.
Mm-hmm.
Kresimir's promise is, I'm going to fuck this place up if the entire line dies to violence. If an entire line dies to violence, and I'm going to start rearranging how everything's done, and I'm not going to fix what's there, I'm just going to start over. So I think that's going to be the threat in maybe one of the later books, is like, we're like, Jacob's been alive the whole time, so that's why he's not going on a rampage murdering everybody yet, kind of thing. Because isn't he specifically like the king's son?
No, he's like,
I don't know.
he's like the king's cousin's son or something like that.
Yeah.
But he's an heir.
Oh.
Yeah, he's got some ties. Like,
Yeah, he's
he's
of the
got noble
royal
blood.
family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he might indeed be a legitimate heir, you know?
I mean, I think that's the whole point, was he was legitimate heir. That's why we're hiding him.
I was more sad for Olim, but
He'll get her in the end.
like I kind of agree with you, Leonard, in that he's making Tomas be the White Knight or whatever too good, but he did still kill like thousands of people just because they were loosely related to the crown, and there were like good people in there and like teenagers, and just because they're not children doesn't make them they deserve to die kind of thing.
There is direct parallels to a particular Brandon Sanderson character that this is emulating.
The father in Stormlight.
Dalaran, yeah. Not Dalaran.
Dalinar.
Dalaran is definitely a World of Warcraft in the Warcraft location.
Don't compare Dalinar to this. Never mind.
Tell us how you really feel.
I
feel Dalinar. Like chapter 32 was kind of rushed too. The part where they traveled through the mountains. How they ended up going towards Julene. It's like they bypassed so much. It felt like they teleported. Like looking at I guess I'm reading on the Kindle, right? And the Kindle has like this time estimate of how many minutes left in the chapter. Chapter 32 was probably the shortest estimate I've seen in a long time. I'm like, did they just really go through the tunnel in the shortest chapter in the last 10? Wait.
They were setting up for the final act, right?
I know, but
this whole book is kind of like that. Like, there's a lot of time that goes by in this book. It all is pretty rushed.
Yeah. Here's a teleportation gate.
I can tell you exactly how long the audiobook is in compared to some of the other chapters. Oh. It's reading to me. Sorry, 1 second. 32 was 15 minutes, whereas the book, chapter 31 was 21, and chapter 33 was 27 minutes. Although, the shortest chapter is yet to come.
Really?
Chapter 34 was the shortest chapter in the book.
Okay, I guess. Alright, chapter 33. Adamat and Soulsmith return to Adamat's home to find the proprietor's eunuch, who usually works as his assassin, waiting for them. He speaks on behalf of the proprietor to answer questions about Adamat's investigation, hoping to also remove the proprietor as a suspect from his investigation. Later that night, Adamat and Soulsmith are attacked in his home by the Black Street Barbers. After a long fight in which Soulsmith is shot twice, Adamat recognizes one of the would-be assassins as one of Rickard Tumbler's workers, Coyle. I don't know how to pronounce his name. In his dying breath said, "I'm trying to help." Later, Thomas is informed and he's furious that the Barbers took an extra job and is ready to bring in Tumbler immediately, but Adamat wants some time to investigate further. Chapter 34. Adamat and the patched-up Soulsmith, along with Sabon and a squad of Thomas soldiers, march into the Black Street Barbers' headquarters to confront Thief. With trained riflemen dealing with the Barbers outside, Adamat and Soulsmith push for information from Thief, the leader of the Barbers. Thief recognizes Adamat and reaches for his razor, but was sent flying by Adamat's cane. The three men around Thief dropped their razors. 3 bullets had gone clean through all 3 of their wrists without a gun being drawn. After having one of his fingers and then a wrist twisted by Soulsmith, Thief admits that he was hired by a priest matching the description of Simon to kill Adamat and Mihaly. Adamat then rushes to tell Thomas that the Archdiocese, Solomon, is the traitor.
What do you guys think about the Black Street Barbers just being like, all right, I'll just fucking pay for the highest bidder, or I'll do whatever. Wait, I'll work for the highest bidder.
They're kind of like that, but only because it was like a lot of money. Well, like a lot of money. They were pretty. They did say like we normally wouldn't do this, but it was just a ridiculous amount of money.
Yeah, it is also for a relatively safe employer.
It felt very convenient though, like how Adamat and Soulsmith, who apparently recovered from 2 bullet wounds, just conveniently walked into the Black Street Barbers headquarters. No problem.
Well, there's a reason why they were able to do that, though. Like, they actually specified why they were able to do that. Why? The rest of them were out going to murder the god.
Yeah, he did say that they were like fewer than usual, but
there was like 5 there.
Is it just 5? It sounded like a lot more than that.
I think it was 5 inside, and there were more outside that let them walk by. But he had a whole army behind him too, so, or a bunch of gunsmiths or whatever they're called, powder mages.
Gunsmiths.
I thought it was the whole like Sue Smith thing was pretty dumb. Like he gets shot twice. He's like almost dying, and then he's just up walking around like he doesn't have any superpowers.
I feel like this whole entire thing was like written to be a movie because I could see them having like John Cena go and walking around like nothing fucking happened, you know, or some other big bulky dude.
It feels like a very fast-paced movie, like just a short action flick.
Yeah,
It was
not
definitely
as
like
much
a
as
tough
the last
guy
one.
moment without being a tough guy moment.
Yeah.
You guys know who Steven Seagal is?
Yes.
It feels like a Steven Seagal movie because his movies
my
are all
God.
action movies, but they're all awful. You know, like
They weren't all awful.
most of his movies are garbage.
He hasn't been great for 40 years or so, but
Every time I see
and he's
him,
kind of an
I was
awful
like,
human being too. But it's
What are those? What are those like? Equalizer? That's not what they're called. There's like 5 of them now. It's
What?
just a bunch of old, like 90s.
Oh,
right?
Oh,
Retired, something and dangerous.
Expendables.
Expendables, yeah.
Okay. You're talking about Expendables. I thought
It's just like 90. It's like 4 90s action movie guys who are.
I think it's like everybody, isn't it? Isn't it like 12 or like 15 of them at this
Yeah,
point?
maybe.
Like,
I mean, there's like 5 movies now, so
Yeah.
I think 5 is out in the theaters right now.
They added some of the younger ones recently too, right? Jason Statham was like the newest edition, or
Yeah,
was there someone even younger?
who's like not super young.
yeah, I was gonna say Jason Statham's been in the game for a while at this point.
Younger than the rest of
He
the
looks
crew,
young.
at least.
He's
Yeah.
56.
Is he?
He's 56, so he's kind of young but old for an action star.
Yeah, he's a young 60.
Jason
Yes.
Statham, if you are listening to this, I love you.
Clearly, we're gonna post this on his Twitter page, his X page.
His X page.
I mean,
My
we
brother-
call him the youngest one. Actually, no, Tony Jaa is probably the youngest one on that list.
My brother
added
sent me
26.
a Twitter link today, and it's x.com now. And I was like, this literally looks like the scam link that you wouldn't want to click because it looks so sketchy.
Yeah.
Chapter 35. Daniel and his team continue to chase the prey up the mountain. They race to find Novi's perch attacked, the monastery destroyed. The surviving monks show that they were not wholly defeated. They killed wardens and even a few privileged. An old monk described that the attackers were led by a giant cave lion that was slinging sorcery, and he convinces the group to take Dell with them, another surviving monk, as a guide. As the group prepares to leave, Venus hounds find the trail of a large pack of cave lions, apparently hunting the Kes force. Meanwhile, Nyla, having formed a plan to kidnap Jacob, wheels her laundry cart to his room to find him missing, and some dock workers packing up his belongings. She follows the dock workers and is grabbed by a man claiming to be Lord Vetas. After interrogating her, he tells her that they need a new nurse for Jacob. They lead her to a carriage where she finds Jacob. Chapter 36. At the festival feast, Thomas and Prime Lecter talk about Mihali's claims to be Adam reincarnated, trying to logically conclude whether he is a god or not. The discussion is cut short as a group of Blackstreet barbers show up, intent on finishing their contract and killing Mihali publicly. Thomas attempts to fight them off, taking shots into the crowd and killing some of the barbers. During the attack, Mihali reveals his sorcery, showing that he actually is the god Adam reborn. He destroys the barbers, making them disappear. Prime Lecter also reveals his sorcery, revealing that he is actually one of the Prey. So, some of your predictions are right. I don't know which one of you predicted Mihali to be a god. Although my prediction was no.
Yeah, I mean, they set it up that way. That seems like a lot of effort to make him out to be a god to not make him out to be a god.
Yeah.
This guy, I don't know, it just hasn't really been coming off as the kind of writing to be like, I'm going to set this up just to pull the rug out from under you in that way. That said, he does end up doing that anyway in different ways, but, everyone loves Mahali. He has to be a god.
Yeah.
I'm kind of curious about what the whole giant spell is.
The giant spell?
Well, yeah, he's been casting a spell for like a week now straight. And they never actually get into like what he's doing with that spell.
Nobody described anything at all.
No.
Yeah, there's so many unanswered questions in these two chapters, actually. Like, even, how did Lord Vatus find Jacob? It felt like Jacob was a very well-kept secret, right?
Yeah, but these guys are like the spy masters who know everything everywhere kind of thing. And the fact that Olam knew who Jacob was and why he was there. So if he knows, everyone knows, right?
I mean, Olam's the...
I think we should give
him
a little bit more credit, yeah.
Sure, but the fact that
he also had a guard outside his room, and he had his nurse. There's enough people that know that it's not going to be kept secret from any kind of good spy network that's inside their palace or whatever the place they live is, house of something.
Especially since this guy's clearly connected. He's just hanging out there already with no issues, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. It felt like this sequence of events seemed very convenient. There was no setup. They just showed up at the right place at the right time. And it's also right after this, in the next chapter, is when Lord Vatus is somewhere else. It just feels like this guy is just teleporting all over the place.
But we also see he's got control over Adamat, right? Adamat's surely not his only spy, and so if he's doing that to Adamat, I'm sure he's doing that to a ton of other people. And so I don't think it's unrealistic at all for him to have, know where the kid is and be able to get in there and go take him. This was the chapter that made me actually feel something about him, because he's kind of just been a pretty generic bad guy, but just the description from Neela's eyes, I don't know, made me kind of he felt like a real bad guy, I guess.
A real bad guy?
Yeah. Where before he was just generic bad guy doing generic bad things.
I really thought it was going to be a bunch of people who go by Lord Vatus.
Oh, yeah, that'd be interesting.
I am Legion kind of thing.
Yeah.
All of them identified by Lord Vatus.
Yeah.
Remember the Walking Dead movie where the whole community calls themselves Negan?
Yeah, I do.
Everyone's Negan. Yeah, they definitely remember.
Yeah. How'd you feel about the Mahali just turning people to dust?
Fucking badass, because Mahali's great. Why wasn't Mahali turning him to dust though? I thought it was our pretty E friend.
No, Mahali was the one turning them to raid dust or something like that.
Really?
The pretty E guy did the crowd control. We're gonna split so we can get to Mahali.
I thought it was him doing pretty E shit, just popping people. But maybe I'm probably remembering it wrong.
Mahali was basically turning them into paprika, I think.
Well, he does need seasonings.
Paprika is made from red bell peppers. Fun fact.
Yeah,
and Black Street
and
Barbers
Mahali.
This was a scene where I was I wanted to really like it, and I wanted to be this is really badass, and I think in another book that I was enjoying more, I would have, but I was just kind of okay.
I enjoyed it the way they did it in the audiobook, I guess.
Yeah.
The way that he was saying it in there, but it's fine. Yeah. I mean, all of this is just fine for me, right? It's not.
Yeah.
It's not the worst. It's no best served cold, but it's not good either.
Ha 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 ha! Making fun of Lexi's book. Lexi doesn't care.
No, she's done. She's so done.
I'm so done with this book. I'm sorry. It's not a bad book. Objectively, it isn't.
It's a Steven Seagal movie.
Yeah. It's very much a fine book. I feel like that's the description of it. It's fine. It doesn't really make me feel anything. I don't really care about any of the characters.
I like two characters.
Yeah, I don't.
You don't like Golem?
I like Golem.
I think Golem's fine.
Okay.
I think he was good for a chapter and a half, and that was about it. Yeah, on that note, should we go to the next?
Sorry.
Alright. Chapter 37. Adamat and Sabon arrive at Election Square to see the damage caused by the Barbers' attack. Adamat tells Tamas that Charlemagne is the traitor, and Tamas, with the support of the rest of his council and Olam, decides to go arrest the Archdiocese and risk the wrath of the church. Tanil chases the cast up the Crescent Caldera. Along the way, they find dead and mangled cave lion bodies, as well as bodies of wardens left behind to slow down the pack. Daniel, with the help of Dell, goes to set up in the palace to stop the cast from summoning Crashmere. Adamat returns home to find Lord Vetas holding his daughter hostage. He first tells Lord Vetas Tamas was going to arrest Charlemagne at his villa, who then sends a messenger to warn Charlemagne. After a brief exchange, Adamat reveals that Tamas was actually going after Charlemagne at the cathedral, which prompts Lord Vetas to try to warn Charlemagne himself. Adamat is left under the watch of some guards. After distracting them and dispatching them, he leaves his daughter in Soulsmith's care and heads out to warn Tamas. Chapter 38. Tamas and his soldiers arrive at Charlemagne's villa to arrest him. Before they get inside though, air rifles are fired from the villa. A group of wardens have joined with the Archdiocese's bodyguards defending the villa. Sabon gets shot and dies instantly, and Tamas sends Valora for reinforcements. Charlemagne proposes a ceasefire and offers to talk, trying to reach an agreement with Tamas. Tamas and Olam decide to accept the invitation and head inside, knowing it was a trap. Meanwhile, Taniel's group heads for the palace, but is stopped by a group of cave lions. Kapol, with her sorcery alongside Rena's hounds, quickly dispatches several cave lions, and the group fights their way to a stone door. Bo uses his sorcery to bring the hounds and Rena inside, but as a result, they were all incapacitated. They are all unconscious or dead. Taniel follows Dell to find a point high enough to get a good shot at the cathedral. Olam and Tamas are taken by the wardens. While Charlemagne plans on taking Tamas to South Pipe, Nixlaus disagrees, saying that he should be taken to Kes instead. Unaware that Tamas can now use his sorcery, they leave him be for a moment, giving him the opportunity to spray them with bullets from Olam's pouch. After a very brief fight, Olam is left chasing Charlemagne, while Nixlaus is left with a bullet hole in each hand. These two chapters feels like they were jumping all over the place. And the thing is, it wasn't properly separated too. It felt like instead of like another character's story being told in like a complete segment after the next page, it was like in the middle of next paragraph. Now this next paragraph is talking about Taniel's group instead of Tamas's group.
It was supposed to be like hectic. Everything's supposed to be happening at once. We're in a time crunch and everything's going on. Like I respect the decision to do it, but I agree it wasn't super enthralling.
Yeah.
I didn't mind that at all. I feel like that's pretty common when you have different POVs and you get towards the end of a book where all the action is kind of wrapping up. It doesn't work as well in this one because it's action happening, 100 miles away from each other that don't have any connection with each other.
Yeah.
But
and at the time, none of them I really felt like that dramatic. I guess I don't know. I mean,
one of them is literally summoning a god that's going to wipe out the country, and the other one is the main character that's about to die.
The gods we know are pretty cool folk, all right? We don't know Krezzy's not a bad.
It's from all the things we've heard, he sounds like kind of a dick.
Yeah, they don't know him, not like we do.
Were you guys upset with Sabon's sudden death?
No.
It was definitely surprising. I didn't think he would just kill him like that. Also, it's not like we know Saban super well. Like,
That's
he
the
seems
thing.
like an alright guy.
Yeah, so after his death, right, I was actually surprised. But then I asked myself this question, like, was I upset with his death? No, not really. And would I be upset with anybody's death in this book? Probably not. Because it felt like there was some effort put in to try to get the readers attached to Sabon, because he's showed up quite a few times. He's Tamas's most trusted right-hand man, and he trains the privileges. He trained Valora, he trained Taniel, right? They have all the backstory for him, but it didn't feel enough for me to care about him as a character, And I feel kind of the same about a lot of the other characters in this book too. Like,
it might just be the pacing in this book in general just makes it hard to care about anybody too, though. I don't know. I don't know if it's the pacing or if there's too many characters going on right away.
All right, I have a few things written down for these chapters. First, I don't understand how powder mages work, right? Because Tamas uses powder with the bullets that are in Olim's pocket, but he's got the powder on him. So they don't need to like touch. Like, what is he doing? Can he just?
I thought
How is he affecting the bullets?
I thought the bullets already have gunpowder on them, right?
Okay, so why does he have a bag of powder then?
Can't they just eat the shit to get buffs?
Yeah, but
Like-
he doesn't do that. I mean, he does that occasionally, but he's like burning through powder also. I don't know. It just
Maybe
doesn't
it's
seem
a maybe it is like a maybe it's their homage to Scadrial,
Yeah.
Mistborn, where
Alamancy.
yeah, where it's like you gotta ingest it to use it. I mean, half this book is at like pokes at the Cosmere. I feel like so. Why not?
All right. So Charlemagne is like, we got to bring Tomas up to the mountain so we can show him to Kresimir so he doesn't destroy the country. Why did Charlemagne back Tomas if he believed Kresimir was going to come destroy the country after this revolt?
Maybe he never
Any
really
ideas?
backed. I don't know. It's been a mess.
I'm guessing nobody has like a good answer for that. I'll just move on. It's fine. Tomas, he's in a room full of wardens and he just kills them all. The wardens suck. Like, they are actually just
Yeah.
terrible. Tomas
Yeah.
killed one like with half the fight. He didn't even have any powder. He just had a dog, and then he kills like 5 of them all at once, like instantly. I don't know. These wardens are kind of pathetic.
I mean, have we seen a warden do anything good in this book at all besides for die?
No, but they built them up to be like badasses.
I know, and they've got these air rifles, so they don't have to use gunpowder for their fighting. They're
Yeah.
literally built to be anti-powder mages, and every time we've seen them, they have just died. 100%.
well, it could be because Thomas is such a badass. Also, right?
It's
Like,
true, but like if you're gonna try to express a badass thing, at least have him kill somebody, like anybody.
Or like show that he's doing it in a way that not every other powder mage could do, right? Because all he did was shoot them. Like,
Their only
it seems
weakness,
like
bullets.
yeah.
well, maybe Thomas uses them like 50 caliber bullets, whereas all the other powder mages are like 9mm.
Didn't say that, yeah.
The rest are idiots.
Yeah,
It did make it
Thomas's
sound like
shots are better.
I think the biggest thing with that was like I think if it was he's able to control more than just 2. You know, his ton's 2-shot. That sounds like he can do like a dozen of them or whatever. Like he doesn't have a cap of how many he's doing at the same time. So it's like all of them happen at once, and that's his superpower. So it's a surprise attack, and it was a surprise attack actually because I don't think they knew he couldn't do it at that point until.
Yeah.
But it's kind of stupid, right? They invite him in, and for Thomas to accept it. You really think Thomas is stupid enough to accept it if he couldn't use his powder mage powers? It felt like Charlemagne and Nixilas were pretty dumb.
So they were getting ready to rout them. They were in that scene. They were winning. Like
Yeah.
the
Why
church was
invite them
fucking
in? Yeah. Why?
Right.
Why invite Thomas in? That didn't make sense.
to find out where
Because they
Jacob
wanted
is.
They wanted to take Tomas, yeah.
Take them off, find all that stuff, figure out like there's all kinds of reasons they could want them in there, but realistically, I don't think it was described very well. This is all guessing at this point too. Besides for, I mean, Tomas had no reason not to go in because he was going to die regardless. Ultimately, he could just not go in because he was going to fight to the death. If assuming he couldn't use his power mage abilities. Also, don't murder the warlord, and maybe you won't get as many enemies.
All right, another magic question. Do the privileged need to wear the gloves? Or is it like the runes that are on the gloves that are the important part?
Maybe it's for when you're dealing with things like fire, so you don't burn yourselves, and like they're just protective runes or something. But like the Pretty E don't use gloves, do they? Have you seen?
Yeah, that's why I asked it, because the Pretty guy that was with Tomas, he pulled on his gloves before he like did the thing.
Maybe it's just a cool factor.
I need
There's
it to touch the weave.
They don't want to leave their fingerprints behind.
I knew the thing that bothered me the most in this chapter. All the guys are idiots, but they're all in that like we've got to save our women kind of mode, even though they're like Tomas sends Vlora, who we still know literally nothing about because she hasn't been any part of this book. He sends her away when she could very obviously be useful. And then the dumbest thing is Tennille sending Capoel away when he's basically worthless against what he's going against, and she's obviously she's basically a god, right? Because she takes on a pretty and a cabal of sorcerers all by herself and doesn't struggle.
Not yet, actually. She does that in the
How's that next chapter?
two chapters. But
Okay.
but in 37, 38, she fought a group of cave lions with dolls. She had dolls of cave lions, and she easily dispatched a few of them.
Yeah.
She sounds
Either way,
overpowered.
she's the OP one in this book, and Tennille's you stay in safety. It's bitch, you stay in safety. She'll go handle this shit.
Chapter 39. Adamat arrives at the villa, heading around back to cut off any retreat. Sure enough, Charlemagne arrives, ready to jump into his carriage and flee. Simon, too afraid to move, was pushed off the carriage by Charlemagne, snapping his neck. Adamat stalls him in a duel. Although he was no match for Charlemagne and receives several wounds very quickly, Olam arrives in time and hacks away at Charlemagne, only to get a dagger through the ribs. Tamas, however, is able to use a powder charge to snap Charlemagne's sword and dispatches him. Adamat confesses to Tamas, telling him about Lord Vedas and his master, Lord Claramont. Tamas follows Nickslau's blood trail and sees him escaping with a horse and a warden. Chapter 40. Tennille and Dell make it to the top of the palace, into Krasimir's throne room. As they head to the balcony to line up a shot, Julian steps out and confirms that Dell has left Bo behind. Dell, actually a privileged plant named Jekyll, led Tennille into a trap. Julian confirms that she has already summoned Krasimir and invites Tennille to watch his descent with her. Tennille throws Jekyll off the balcony and draws his pistol. A privileged raises his glove at Tennille, but all of a sudden throws himself off the balcony, and another privileged followed suit. A third collapses to the ground screaming, gouging at his own eyes. Tennille heads towards the balcony entrance to see Kapol, with her rucksack at her feet and dolls scattered around it. She raises one hand, and the dolls all rose into the air. Fire spread from her fingertips as the flames hit the dolls. The privileged burst into flames. During the fight, Tennille has time to line up a shot at Krasimir. He descends and is hit by two of Tennille's bullets, one in the eye and one in the chest. The privileged dead, Tennille seeks out Kapol, and they huddle together as the building around them collapses. I found it really weird reading the last chapter because Juline's scene, she started fighting, or she went to fight Kapol, right? It sounded like it, and then Tennille just ignores that and goes after Krasimir, and we never hear what happens to Julian. It was odd.
This felt very much like Marvel to me, of the subverting expectations thing. Everything's subverting expectations. Oh, Krasimir's a badass. Pew pew. And he's totally dead forever and never going to come back, and that's the end of the story.
Yeah, it felt really anticlimactic, honestly. This fight was shorter than, the fight at the university. The fights on the...
Yeah.
The lady fight was kind of fun with the dolls and the fire.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it was okay.
But that was it. Yeah.
But, that was more interesting than the fight with the god. The god,
it wasn't really a fight. He's just sniping. No one likes snipers.
See, then Tennille was smart. He sniped them before they finished their summoning animation, You know how a lot of animes, they wait for the bad guys to finish transforming first and then they fight? But no, Tennille's
true.
No, screw that.
Good point,
Okay.
Good point.
So there was something, a phrase in this chapter that I wanted to talk about, too. This is just, the writing for me. It feels like this chapter didn't go through many iterations. So, this is, right after, Tennille kills Krasimir. Tennille fell to his knees beside Kapol. I can't take you anywhere safe, he said. There's nowhere safe left. I killed a god. You killed a god, you just ensured her safety. Like, what are you talking about? Like, you guys just defeated all of these people just to kind of piggyback on.
It was more like the whole place was collapsing, right?
Daniel feels so useless.
Yeah, but he's not. Like,
he shot
I think he was saying it. I think he was saying it because the palace was collapsing and that he had nowhere to go. I think that was what he was referring to.
I thought it was more like the entire church is going to be after me. Like, the church has a lot of power and there's a lot of believers, and like, you kill their god, like, they're not gonna. The entire continent, right, believes in Kresimir. So
dude, this guy's literally been on drugs the entire book. I don't think we should take anything he says seriously.
Yeah.
I feel like it could have been better. I don't know.
This book.
Yes, that too.
Yeah, I can't say that. I mean, yeah, okay. So Kresimir's not really gone. Going to come back. Maybe there's going to be some vengeance stuff. What do we really see coming in the future for this at post this ending? Like, is the church going to go after him? Because a lot of people in the church, I imagine, don't really want Kresi back either.
Sounds like even Adam isn't very fond of Kresimir coming back, you know?
I imagine most of the family's not super big into this dude.
And I think the problem for pretty much all of us is none of us really care. So we're not like spending a lot of brain power thinking about what's going to happen in the future.
I mean, what if this whole spell that Adam was casting was to just make it so his body was murderable, and then Tangle took advantage of it? And that's just what we're going to find out in the first chapter of the next book.
He did say he was in a mortal body, right?
And they also did say that he was preparing for his brother's arrival, and that spell was clearly in preparation for it. Probably just to protect the city or something, like in some final battle, but
I don't know. Everything's so all over the place. Last two chapters felt rushed. It felt like the writer's producer said, you gotta deliver this book to me by next Friday, you know, and he just finished it.
To me, it feels like he just wrote a book and then he cut it into thirds, and then he just tried to tie up the ending of those third spots. And so that's the rushed part. Like, oh, okay, well, we got to get this part done, and then we can continue on with the actual part of the next story. Like, kind of like what the Wheel of Time had for the final 3 books that Sanderson ended up writing, was supposed to be one big book, but then just chunked off into individuals. I just wonder if there's a similar approach. Because, like, this didn't feel like an ending. Nothing in this felt like an ending. This felt like this felt like the ending of a first act, which, I mean, it's a trilogy, so it is. But generally speaking, a lot of them, like, tie some things up.
There's an epilogue.
Yeah, sure. Everyone's healthy and totally fine.
Not healthy.
Never been better.
Yeah, I mean, the epilogue didn't really leave things at a cliffhanger either. I mean, I have a very short snippet for the epilogue just to sum up a few things, but...
You want to go for it real quick?
Sure. Well, epilogue. Refugees from South Pike arrive at Thomas's camp. With the whole south side of the mountain collapsing, crushing Mountain Watch. Bo is left tied to a stretcher as a precaution against the gaze. Daniel and Capol cling to life, each in a coma. Gabriel, whose name used to be Jacola, catches up with Thomas, who apparently is his brother-in-law. Bo informs them that Kresimir was shot but not killed, since you can't kill a god. Thomas plans on meeting the Kes force, sending them back to Kes and confronting Kresimir to teach him about justice. The end.
I mean, okay, so realistically, what are we going to get out of the next book is, like, Tangiel and Capol are going to be napping for a while. Capol's probably going to be napping for a really long time because she's OP, and they're going to need to have some kind of excuse for them to have struggles in the future.
So you're already moving on to that. I think first, is there anything anybody wanted to, like, cover in this book? All right, I just have one last thing. So I made a note that the characters feel very, like, shallow. Not shallow.
Underdeveloped.
Underdeveloped. Surface level is the words I wrote. So I was thinking about Mal's Handbook of the Fallen, which is, you know, one of my favorite fantasy series, and they have characters in there who are very like pretty one-dimensional. Not most of them, but like real background characters. Like there's a character called Dead Smell, right? And he's a necromancer, and you get like a little bit of his background, but he doesn't feel this like surface level. Like you feel like you kind of know him, you know? And I don't know what it is that like I'm not a writer and I don't know enough about writing, but there's just something about how he writes these characters that just make them feel very underdeveloped. And like this Dead Smell character has like way fewer pages written about him than any of the like main characters in this, and I feel like I care more about him than anyone in this book.
You know, I think a part of it is I don't feel like any character in this book is making a meaningful decision. I think everything they're doing is just going to the next scene, and this is like the logical path for the next scene. How do you build a character when you can't determine their alignment levels? You know, like
Yeah. Most developed one is probably Julene, because she seems to be the one who has the clearest idea of what she wants to do compared to everybody else.
Yeah. Okay, so end of book. Let's do some quick end of book questions. Where do you rate this? We're doing IMDb ratings for me and Leonard. We're doing A, B, C, D, E, F for Rick. And Lexi, you can take whatever you want.
1 through 5.
1 through 5. All right.
What?
IMDb ratings, I give this a 5 probably. It's fine. I didn't like hate the entire experience. It wasn't... I don't think it was as painful, or I didn't dislike it as much as I did Broken Earth. But Broken Earth, I really liked the writing. This, I really disliked the writing. Broken Earth, I really disliked the world and the characters. This, I mostly just disliked the characters. Or I was very neutral on the characters, right? So it's like a 5. I would not read it again. I wouldn't recommend it, but I didn't hate the experience. Leonard, you want to go next?
Sure. I think I'm giving it around a 4.5 or 5 as well. It's a good pastime action story, but I didn't grow to like feel attached to any of the characters or the world. Even the world still feels very unfleshed out. Like I still don't. I felt like I learned so little about the world in the entire book compared to it. Like we were comparing with Broken Earth, right? Broken Earth did a lot of world building. You know, I think the writing was also better. Like it created some places, some scenes for you to go back to attach to. And in this one, it felt like it was just all over the place. I don't even know where the characters are from, who they really are. It also went very little into their relationships. It just felt like this book focused a lot more on the action, whereas, well, Broken Earth obviously did. 5, I think, is fair. I would not recommend this to, at least among the people I know, right? Like those who appreciate good quality books, this I would not recommend. But if you are
someone
looking
who
for
reads bad quality books,
if you're like if let's say you've read every good book that I know of, and you just want something to read, then sure, read this one. But
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right, Rick.
Great school grade is what I have to give, but
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it an I for incomplete. I feel like because like
Really?
realistically, I feel like
empty?
what? It's not done. We're not like this.
All
No. Hold on. I went with this. This is legitimate because I feel like that this is one. These 3 were supposed to be one book and it's split up. So I do not feel like this is complete. If I had to guess on what's going to happen in the next book, it's going to probably be a shit ton of flashback sequences. So we figure out more about each character and why they are the way they are. And the 3rd book is going to be taking place not too long after the first book and like our actual completion. I don't feel like I can appropriately. Otherwise, it's an F because like if this was an anime and this was the first 2 episodes, it would have failed the first 2 episode test. No redeeming scenes. Nothing stands out. I'm not going to remember anything from this book in a month. Like there's like maybe the scene where he fought the first warder who, like, you're right, when he fought 5 of them at once, it completely nullified the importance of that scene. Nothing feels great. There's no like mystery to sink your teeth into. Even the promise of Kresimir or whatever, Kresimir's promise, just not exciting. So in a vacuum on the book on its own, F. Otherwise incomplete because just not done, and I'm just not enthralled enough to continue.
Nice. Lexi?
Gonna give it 2 stars out of 5. I wouldn't recommend it. Like, there's a lot of potential, I think. For me, it wasn't memorable. This was more of a chore for me to read than The Broken Earth. And I don't remember which one of you were saying, but you nailed it right on the head. Like, I remember the characters from Broken Earth way better. Like, they had personalities. They had stuff that I could cling to. Like, I could tell you about these characters, whereas here they're very one-dimensional.
Shallow.
And they just don't, shallow. They just don't catch me at all. And I don't know. It does feel incomplete. I feel like I would have liked a lot more world building, and I would have liked a lot more exposition of what was happening, what was going on. And it wasn't even an issue of subtext. It was just, it felt rushed, felt incomplete. But the magic system, honestly, is intriguing, and I would like to have learned much more about that. Much more about the gloves, much more about the pretty, even more about the religions. Because I don't want to read anymore.
Cool. So on that note, we had talked before the podcast about whether we want to continue the series at all. I'm going to guess everyone's going to be okay with a no.
I'm going to finish the series on my own.
Are you really?
I might too.
Yeah,
but
I want to see if it redeems itself through the second and third book, because like it's got a following. There's more books outside of that too. I'm pretty sure beyond the trilogy. I think the world's still expanding.
There's a whole
too.
second trilogy
Yeah.
that's out.
And if I based, like, for example, Brandon Sanderson off of Elantris, I probably would never have read the rest of the books.
Sure.
And this is probably this dude's first book. I don't know, but I'm just saying, like, I'm going to finish this trilogy regardless.
Well, if 2 of you are going to continue, then...
No, we're not continuing on the podcast. I have to edit these, and I cannot tell you how much I'm not looking forward to that. And it has made me not want to do this podcast at all. So, yeah, I'm very okay with skipping it, if that's okay with you guys.
I might finish the trilogy just if I run out of all. So I have a reading list. Like, I still have a bunch of shit that I bought I haven't read. If I ran out of everything that I like, I might come back to like second book and see how it ends.
What if we do this? What if we just don't finish the book for the podcast for the next 2 books? If we read these books, if you decide you want to, if we all 4 end up finishing the series, let's just have a one-off episode where we just talk about the rest of the series instead of chapter by chapter. Be like, all right, it was fine, or it's good, bad, whatever. It'll just be like an in-between thing instead.
It's also not just a trilogy. There's actually like a book 1.5.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's 4 books. But
They have
book 1.5 is like 250 pages or something, so it's a little shorter. Maybe a lot shorter. I'm not sure. Okay. Another idea for you guys. How do you feel about me picking a book series, which I've already read and I like, and I think you guys would like?
Yeah.
Do you think all of us are going to like it?
Yes.
I think you need to find one that one of us is going to hate so someone can feel bad.
Well,
Okay.
the 3 of us will find reasons to hate, right?
Yeah.
I'm
True.
pretty
We're
sure.
very good at
Almost
that.
definitely.
Yeah.
All right,
Okay,
cool.
fair. Yeah. What did you have? Do you have something in mind right now?
Oh yeah.
Can we talk
We're
about it?
reading the Scholomance trilogy.
Oh, okay. That was in my list.
Scholomance? Something
Yeah.
like that.
The what?
It's called the Scholomance. I think it's probably Scholomance because it's about a school.
I like this description
looks
right
so
here.
good.
The Scholomance is a school for magical children. Don't expect a Harry Potter type of school because this school has no adults in it, and the children never leave for 4 years if they survive. From the time
I
students
love
arrive
it.
until they graduate, they're lucky to be the 1 in 4 that survive. So this is like Battle Royale / what was the other book series?
Name of the
Meets
Wind.
what? No. With Katniss.
Hunger Games.
Hunger Games meets Harry Potter.
It's not the students killing each other.
Oh, okay. I mean, that makes me not really want to read it now, but
Yeah.
that's fine.
Dude.
I mean, don't well, never mind.
Magic dangerous, magical creatures dangerous.
Yes.
It's fine. Okay, cool.
That's it.
I'm
Is
down.
the first one called The Deadly Education? Education?
I think so, yeah.
I am gonna buy these hardback. 'Cause
The
they
art's
are
pretty-
beautiful
the art's-
covers.
Yeah.
Are they?
The Goodreads rating
Yeah.
is pretty low for the first book.
Oh my gosh.
Digital Education's got a 4.6 on Amazon. 4 on that. Well, Goodreads. Let's look at the Goodreads ratings here.
3.99.
3.99 out of 20 or 145,000 ratings though. So
Yeah.
Oh, I'm so excited.
Are you reading spoilers already?
No, I'm looking at the.
She's already
cover
done with the
instead of
series.
The cover.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, I am adding to cart.
Okay.
Okay.
So we have our next series we're gonna read. Are you guys interested in doing another filler episode? Like we did the philosophy, we did a short story, and does anyone have an idea for what to do?
Role
I
of
thought-
AI in our modern lives.
I think AI will be a lot to talk about depending on what we go into.
Yeah, that's fine. All right. It's time now
oh shit.
for the random question of the day.
Oh, I forgot about this.
Question of the day. Random question of the day.
Dude,
All
can we
right.
get a theme song? Can we get an actual one?
Listen, fucker. I tried to get you all to sing last episode. Random question of the day.
No, I'm gonna go to Fiverr. I'm gonna have someone make us one.
All right.
Can you make us a podcast intro song as well?
Yeah.
Or
Just
it's the
or just like an
podcast of the
intro
day.
in general. I went to Fiverr to try to get someone to edit our podcasts, and it's too expensive.
Yeah, it's probably way too expensive.
We talk too long is the real problem. If we talked for 15 minutes, it'd be super cheap. All right, Lexi, we're going to start with you. Would you rather work closely with someone with poor hygiene or have slow internet at work? So like you're in a cubicle with another person and you either have slow internet or they have terrible hygiene.
I'd rather have slow internet. Especially like if it's like work stuff. Like I don't care. I can be in my phone while this page is loading. Like
Yeah.
now if it was my internet, I would be with somebody with bad BO.
Okay.
If it was a
Rick?
15.
Oh, if I'm at work, shit, that one's actually a lot harder for me because if I'm at work, I'm probably imaging something, and that might make the difference between a 5-minute, 20-minute process to like a couple hour project.
That's such an
Yeah,
easy
I can do
answer.
like 7 at a time. Fuck it, fuck bad BO. Like what? No, I don't want to smell my neighbors.
Leonard?
Easy answer. I'd rather have slow internet. At least with slow internet, I can tell my boss, "Hey, internet's slow. I can't do shit about this. I just gotta sit here and wait."
So my knee-jerk reaction is the same in that because it's not your fault that you're not getting any work done. But
Yeah.
at the same time, when you just want to Google like a Python method and see what like this, all of a sudden you have to wait while the play page like slowly loads. I don't know.
Use your data. Easy.
Yeah.
You know what?
Do you
That's
have
true.
someone that
But
needs-
No.
Hold on.
That is not an option in this. Would you rather?
But you know, and you got a point too, because like if you're there every day for 8+ hours a day, you're gonna become nose blind to the person eventually. Like eventually, it's just like this is your day. This is you can augment it with candles.
Can we tell the person
You could wear
You'd
an
be like,
N95
"Hey."
mask, maybe.
you
Yeah.
smell bad? Have some deodorant.
No, I think in this would you rather hypothetical, you have
can't
to
do
like
Ender.
you have to either smell them or just have bad internet.
Well, I would change my answer to no answer because that's what kind of universe is that?
I don't want to
only
live
two
in this
options.
world.
Yeah.
Suicide. Is your answer suicide?
I
God.
kill myself.
Fuck this world.
No, actually, I mean, why not just get rid of the bad odor guy? You know?
Kill him.
Oh yeah, true. But unfortunately, in this world, that still has to be a thing. So the next guy's going to be bad too. You might become the bad one. You never become nose blind to yourself.
All right, that's all we've got for today. This was probably a terrible episode as we all ripped on
Shut
a
up.
book that somebody out there listening probably really likes. Sorry about that, kind of.
They won't make it this far.
Yeah, that's probably a good point. Thanks for listening. We've been Discount Bin. Thanks. We'll be back shortly after
Bye.
these messages.
Bye.
There's a message. Bye.